In this very short story, an American man and a young woman sit outside at a train station in Spain. They drink beer and try a new liquor as they wait to catch their train to Madrid. The woman, the man calls her Jig, which apparently is a nickname, remarks on the hills. They look like white elephants to her. They pick unhappily at each other and then try to make up. The man refers to an operation he's encouraging the young woman to have. It's awfully simple, he says on page 417. I know you wouldn't mind it. It's not really an operation at all. She is worried about how things will be after, and he says, since that's the only thing that bothers us, once she has that operation, we'll be just like we were before. I'm on page 417. She's doubtful, thinking once she has the operation, possibilities will be gone forever. So on page 418, below the middle of the page, she says, we could have everything and every day we make it more impossible. She's tired of discussing the operation with him. On page 419, she says, can't we maybe stop talking? And then about a third of the way down the page, would you please stop talking? He takes their luggage to the platform and has another drink by himself, thinking that she is unreasonable. Returning, he asks her if she feels better, and she says she feels fine. Hemingway experimented with a minimalist technique. He used a point of view that's called objective or dramatic. Dramatic because if this were a drama, if this were a theater production, you would not have any special insight into anyone's state of mind. You'd have to go just by what they say and what they do. You would just see them and hear them. You wouldn't have access to their thoughts. This is the narrative method that is used in this story, with one lapse, deviating from this narrative method to give you insight into the man's mind. So on page 419, in the sizable paragraph right before the story ends, he's moving the luggage. Coming back, he walked through the bar room where the people waiting for the train were drinking. He drank anise at the bar and looked at the people. They were all waiting reasonably for the train. So this word reasonably comes out of his outlook, and it's a reflection on his thoughts regarding the girl. If she were just reasonable, she wouldn't be fighting with him about having this operation. All these people are not fighting with him. They're waiting reasonably. As you think about these characters, think about how this male has a nationality, he's called a man. This female is called a girl. She doesn't have a name except this silly nickname. And she also doesn't have a nationality. Apparently she's younger than the man she's with, and apparently he feels qualified to give her information and reasons that he doesn't trust her to have. The conflict that they're having is about an operation that he wants her to have to let the air in, and he wants her to have it because on page 419, I don't want anybody but you. I don't want anyone else. So we can glean by the fact that she's the one that's going to have an operation, and it's going to keep it so that there's just the two of them. We can glean that he's talking about an abortion. You can picture that if a boyfriend and girlfriend were arguing in public about whether or not to have an abortion, they probably wouldn't come right out and say what they're arguing about. But in this story, it's really quite masterful the way Hemingway gets this across so subtly that you may read the story for the first time and not really know until you go back and examine exactly what they're saying more closely, that they're talking about an abortion. So all of these things fall under the heading of the minimalist technique, the objective or dramatic narration, indicating the characters without saying which one of them is older, which one of them views himself as dominant, which one of them is younger and taken less seriously. And he gets across the information about the conflict also without spelling it out for us. So the minimalist technique. The setting is very interesting. We're at a train station, so you could look at this as symbolic of the crossroads that they're at in their relationship as well. It's also a detail that tells you that they live a very transient life, as do the labels that are on their luggage. The other thing that the setting does is it gives this story its title. So the hills are like white elephants, and the description of the countryside on page 416 explains this. The hills are white in the sun, the country was brown and dry. Not all the country. On page 418, about the middle of the page, on the other side of the station from where they were sitting, there were fields of grain and trees along the banks of the river. Far beyond the river were mountains. The shadow of a cloud moved across the field of grain, and she saw the river through the trees. So you can think of this landscape as symbolic of the settled, fertile life that she is eager for and that he is less eager for. But again, Hemingway doesn't spell it out. Here he lets the details of the landscape do the talking for him. You get the sense that they are almost doing the thinking for the young woman.